secret. One of the nice things about being governor, if you're old enough, you remember when you're in an airplane flight and it left at 3 and you showed up at the airport at 2:45. If you're old enough, you remember that. If you're governor, it still works that way. And it's kind of like 9/11 never happened, and you just walk in and you walk around security and a trooper has magically taken your bags and gotten it on the plane. And so whatever time the flight boards, you get there then. And I was flying out of Nashville to the West Coast one time, and it was a Southwest flight. If you've ever flown Southwest, you get a number according to how you're going to board. And well, somehow if you're governor, your number's always 1. And so, I get there, the flight's leaving at like 1 o'clock, and I get there at 12:45, and they board, and I literally walk right out. So, it's open seating. You get to pick your seat on Southwest. So I literally pick my seat, and I'm sitting there, and the trooper who's with me kind of sits in the aisle across from it. Whole empty plane, and this woman comes and sits right next to me. And we're going to Los Angeles too. She goes, "I can't believe I get to sit next to the governor." I go, "Uh-huh." And she goes, "For a 4-hour flight?" And I go, "Uh-huh." She goes, "Can we take a selfie?" I go, Sure. And so we do a selfie, and then we talk a little while. She goes, "Oh, my husband will think this is so cool. Can we call my husband?" And I go, "Well, sure," and so we call her husband and talk to her. The plane's still kind of low. I was first, so it's still taking a while. We call her husband, and she goes, "Oh, no. We got to FaceTime my office." And so we FaceTime our office. It's me and "Hi, Judy. Hi, Bob." We're kind of saying hi to everybody in our office, and somebody was walking around there. And right then, and I remember this is Nashville, and so all of a sudden, that sound that some people have on their phones when they take a picture, it sounds like a camera clicking. And all of a sudden you hear that everywhere. It's going crazy. And I look up, and if you're a country music fan, the vocal group Little Big Town is walking down the aisle. Okay, they're pretty big time. And everybody's going crazy, and et cetera, et cetera. And they sit down, and all of a sudden this woman looks at me and goes, "Well, now I don't feel like I got such a good seat after all." That's kind of what it's like to be the ex-governor. Like, oh, darn, Hey, here's what I want to talk about is, and when Terry asked if I did this, well, I said yes in a second. I know you all know this, but what you all are doing is so important. And I'm not just saying that because that's what you say, but let me put that in context. What's happening in our nation right now? Okay, we're about as divided as you can get, right? And it's a pretty, regardless of which side you're on, you got to admit it's a pretty even divide, right? The presidential election, was close. The last 8 presidential elections have been decided by single digits. Okay, that hadn't happened in the history of the country. The Senate is literally 50-50. Okay, the House has 6 votes separating it. And so we're divided, but beyond divided, we're really mad. We're mad at the other side, right? We can't believe they think the way that they think. And we've kind of gone beyond being mad to being contemptuous of the other side. I have a friend who's a marriage counselor, and he says, I have people walk in my office all the time, and I can deal with a lot. If, one of them's having an affair, or they're just mad, etc. He said, what I can't, if they're contemptuous, if they're rolling their eyes at each other, I know I've got a really hard time. And we become contemptuous of each other, right? And then there's something called motivation, attribution, asymmetry. It took me a while to memorize all that. But what it does is it measures how much you doubt the motives of the people on the other side. So it says, not only do I think Larson's on the other side, but I think he's there for bad motives. It's not just that we disagree, but he's got bad motives in being there. And this is 6 years ago, so it's worse now. The motivation, attribution, asymmetry between the right and left, Republican, Democrat, red, blue, whatever you want to call it, 6 years ago, so it's worse now, was greater than that between Israelis and Palestinians. Okay, so that kind of puts it in context of where we are, and we don't trust each other, and if you think about it, it's all kind of logical, right? Because we more and more live around people who live and think like we do. We typically worship with people who live and think like we do. We can choose our news, first time ever, right? When we some of you aren't as old. I said, when I grew up, you could watch ABC, CBS, NBC, 6, 8, or 10 in Knoxville in those days. And that was your choice. And now there's like 435 channels, and you can go online and read any opinion you want. And not only that, but my phone pretty soon figures out what I like, and it starts sending me the stuff I like. And I like to be told that what I like is right. And the more I read of articles that go, well, see, that I am right, and all the news I get. So you see kind of how we've gotten there is we're divided, we're mad, and we think we're kind of shocked that anybody could be on the other side. So what's that have to do with us? Here's the difference in what I've seen. And the further government gets from home, the less it feels like it really has to solve problems, right? I mean, how do you get famous on today's national political scene? You don't do it by actually proposing a solution to a problem, right? You do it by, I'm outraged. I am so mad about this, and I can roll out my, how mad I am about this, and I will get on one of the cable channels. If I want to go on, as a governor, if I wanted to go every night on a cable channel and be mad and yell at the other side, I guarantee I could go on one of the national cable shows every night if I wanted to, okay? But that doesn't solve one problem. The beauty of what you all are doing is, at the end of the day, you have to solve the problem, right? You have to balance the budget. You got a land use issue that comes before you. You have to solve that. You have, a decision to make about school funding. You're going to have to figure out how to solve that. And I know sometimes that makes it the least attractive form of government because you actually have to solve it, but it's why it actually really works best. And so people to me that come all the time, they're like, I don't know what we're going to do as a country. How are we going to get past that? I always say, look to local government. Local government, because they have to, they've learned how to work it out. In this room, I don't know everybody, but we have a pretty good political spectrum in this room, right? I'm looking around you from left to right, progressive to conservative. We could not cover the whole spectrum, but most of it. But yet if we had to, I am 100% convinced if they said, here's what y'all need to solve, a budgetary issue or whatever else, I think we could do it in this room. And so I say all that for this reason. We need people to model what government that works looks like. There's a huge debate, not today, it's been from the beginning of the country, about the quantity of government, right? How big it should be. So if you're on the left, you think more government's better. We need to tax more, spend more, provide more services, help more people. That's everybody. On the right, you go, well, if we let people keep more of their money, then I think better things will happen, and we keep taxes low, then the economy will grow more. That's kind of the traditional argument on both sides. What we don't talk enough about is the quality. So we have this big discussion about the quantity of government. We're not talking about the quality of how it actually works. And my encouragement to you would be to say, let's focus on making City of Knoxville, Knox County work as well as it can, and actually try to make things, see if we can solve problems. I don't know all of you, but I know some of you, and I know enough about others to know, most of you didn't do this because you thought, if I'm on city council or I'm on county commission, I'm going to become a famous celebrity. I'm making that bad. I don't see anybody here that looks like you ran so you could be on the Cuomo show or the Hannity show. I'm thinking you ran because you actually want to make a difference. Regardless of what your religious beliefs are, I think all of us are wired in such a way that we want to make a difference. I just think that's part of the human condition, is to want to make a difference. It's why I ran for mayor, and I loved it. I loved being the mayor of Knoxville. It's why I ran for governor, and I love that too. And here's what I would encourage you is kind of three things. Number one, the beauty of government, again, forgetting what your political stance is you can leverage it to make more difference. Here's why I decided to run for. People ask me all the time, like, why'd you try to run for office? People had come to me, this is 2002. Victor Ash had been mayor of Knoxville for, at that point, 15 years. There hadn't been term limits. They had just passed term limits. And so people came and said, why don't you run for mayor of Knoxville? I literally laughed. I mean, I remember we were eating lunch and I had taken a big sip of iced tea, and I literally just kind of almost spit the tea out laughing, like, why would anybody want to be a mayor? And they said, well, you should think about that and pray about that. And I said, well, kind of hard to say I won't do that. So I did it. And then as things would have it, a month later, my kids were in middle school and high school then, on spring break with our kids down in Florida. As things work out, just staying 2 doors down was a guy named Bob Corker, who at the time had just been elected mayor of Chattanooga. I went on to become United States Senator. But Bob had been a friend. He and my brother were college friends. I'd known him forever. And he had just run and been elected mayor of Chattanooga. And so we're both bike riders, and we got on a bike one day and rode 10 miles west and then 10 miles east. When I got on the bike, I had zero interest in running for mayor. When I got off, I thought, I need to go tell Kristi I'm thinking about running for mayor. And it's not that Bob was that persuasive, it was just that he said this, like, okay, Bill, have you, chaired the campaign for the Boys and Girls Club? Have you done this for Red Cross? Have you done this for United Way? Have you done this for, coaching Little League baseball teams? Yeah. And he goes, you can make 10 times as much difference in government as you can in any of those other things. And it's true, right? Because you have the leverage of government behind you to do that. And again, whether that government is big and you have a progressive view of it, or small and you have a conservative view of it, you still have the leverage of government to make things different. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of that. I think all of us are wired to want to make a difference, and government can do that. It really can, and I've seen that happen time and time again. So that would be the first thing I'd say. The second is this, and I don't know all of you, and some of you probably haven't been bitten by this bug, but once you're elected to anything, everybody starts saying what? What are you going to run for next? Right? I ran for mayor. People said, are you going to run for governor or senator? I'm like, I'm a mayor. And the whole time I was governor, there were so many other governors who they spent their whole time thinking, I'm going to run for president. And that's okay. But I would argue they wasted their chance at the best job in the world wanting the next job. And I can tell you person after person on the Republican and Democrat side who thought, I'm going to run for president. Remember, I was in office from 2010 to 2018, so when I'm in, President Barack Obama's president. In 2016, Trump gets elected. Well, all those people from 2011 to 2016 who are planning their life around running for president, do you think any of them saw Donald Trump coming? No, but they'd planned their whole time around, I'm going to be the next president, and they wasted their time. So I know everybody's not bit with that bug, but I bet everybody does have friends saying, you need to run. I just know that's how it works. And so don't waste this time. And the third thing I'd say is this. Even though you might say, well, I said none of you ran to be a celebrity, there is a sense in which being in office can go to your head a little bit, right? Because people are always coming, my experience is, people are either treating you like you're the best thing ever or like you're pond scum. Or both, yeah. Right. Very, very few people take a realistic approach to who you are and what you do. But you're either the greatest ever, and if you're the greatest ever, they're coming to you because they might want something. Or if you're pond scum, it's like they won't even listen to your argument. Okay? Somewhere in there, people need to remember, like, well, here's why I did this. I did this because I love my city, I love my county, I really love this district that I've been called to serve, and do that. It is, I'm not this isn't some sort of, false humility deal, but the world moves on really, really fast, okay? I'm not making this stuff up. I was walking at Lakeshore Park yesterday with a friend, and this woman looked at me and goes, and she kind of grabbed me and she goes, I know you used to be somebody, but I can't remember who you used to be. That's the way life works, right? In the state capitol, they hang the governor's picture right there, and then it kind of moves around, and then eventually it goes off to who knows where. 100 years from now, if my great-great-grandchildren say, I think my great-great-grandfather used to be governor, can you find his picture? They probably have to work at it really hard. As another friend of mine says, you know what the difference between now and 100 years from now is? All new people. And so my point on this is, don't get caught up on, boy, if I do this, I'll end up on the front page of the newspaper, whatever. Do the right thing. Because 20 years from now, I tell you, I was a governor 2.5 years ago. I'm not a real big deal anymore, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying that as a complaint. It's the reality. So while you have the chance, don't miss the opportunity while you're thinking of something else, and don't miss the chance to do the right thing, thinking, oh, I'll be more popular if I do this thing. Because it is a unique opportunity to do what you're doing. I'll circle back around for 2 reasons. One, it's a great way to serve. I do not know a better way to serve than serving, and particularly local government. If you were in Washington right now, you would be wearing a red jersey or a blue jersey, and that's just what you do, right? And if I could take 6 Republicans and send them up for 6 Republicans there and swap them out, and there won't be a whole lot of difference in the same thing with Democrats, because you're just told, here, the leader of whichever side saying, here, you here's how we're voting on this. But that's just not true in what you're doing here. And so my encouragement would say, use this chance to serve your district well, but also to model what government working looks like on a bigger picture, because the country needs this, right? Everybody's discouraged. Actually, more than that, everybody's exhausted and frustrated. And I don't know about you, but when I talk about politics, people either engage because they want to rage about it, or they're like, please, don't do that to me. And so my hope for us you in this room is you use this chance to show, I'm going to serve the people that I've been called to serve, and we're going to show, here's what a model for how government can really work looks like. So I'm going to stop there. I think, Terry, I've got a few more minutes. Am I right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, I'd love to talk about whatever you want, and I'm not in office anymore, so I can answer anything. So.